Hello everybody, this is the Pixalate ad fraud research team bringing you the Matryoshka ad fraud investigation. This apparent scheme utilizes sensitive user data such as GPS coordinates and hides dozens of fake video ads behind a single banner ad. The apparent scheme utilizes iFunny, a popular mobile app registered in Seychelles but with apparent Russian ties, such as being able to store data in Russia. The app has 10 million downloads on Android and ranks in the top 50 in the entertainment category on iOS. It's also routinely among the top 10 in terms of programmatic ads sold, according to Pixalate's data. The scheme affected over 2 million users, draining batteries, wasting cell data plans, and causing phones to heat up. A number of dangerous permissions on the app appears to have helped the scammers behind the scheme misuse sensitive user data while appearing to target key US swing states. Next, we'll dive into how the apparent ad fraud scheme works. This diagram shows all the steps and we'll go through each one. The scheme is active on both iOS and Android with slightly different methodologies, and this example will use iOS. So first, the scammers have to infiltrate the device, and they do this by buying a valid banner ad but injecting the creative with some malicious code. That malicious code then starts a background process and retrieves a malicious script. It also passes along the sensitive user data like GPS coordinates. The scammers then touch base with their command and control center. It's iServe ads in this example, but we've seen others. And they pass along the sensitive user data. The command and control center then passes back dozens of spoofed video tags. The player script then requests these tags up to hundreds of times in the background of the user's phone. And these tags contain spoofed data blended with real user data. The returned video ads are then executed, defrauding advertisers and using consumer phones without their knowledge, and the process repeats for as long as iFunny is open and the malicious ad is loaded. Now let's dive deeper into each step of the process. First, the scammers have to gain access to the user's device. They do this by buying a valid banner ad on iFunny and injecting it with malicious code to infiltrate the device. What you're looking at here is a live test capture while our researchers studied the scheme. There was a Jeep ad that was commonly seen as the front for the scam. To the user, it just looks like a regular Jeep ad, but it gives the scammers everything they need. Behind the scenes, a malicious script is retrieved, this highlighted iServe ad script. We also see real user information stored in a global object to be accessed at a later point. Here we can see they store IP address, unique device identifier, and GPS coordinates. These are important first steps, as later on down the chain, we will see the real user data used in multiple ways. We're now looking at the malicious script retrieved by the code injected into the Jeep creative. And one of the first things we see is that this script references the global object, which contains the user data like IP address, device ID, and lat long data. Next, we see two critically important pieces of code in the malicious script as it relates to consumer privacy. What you're looking at here is the scammer's tracking and logging. The most important thing to note here is that this code reveals data leakage. Real user data, including GPS, device ID, and IP address, are being siphoned away from the global object and stored on the fraudster's servers. One apparent purpose of capturing this user data is to use it in the ad fraud scheme, but other purposes can't be ruled out. This note on consumer privacy is made even more significant by the appearance that this ad fraud scheme disproportionately targets US swing state traffic. Next, we see the scammers generate a tag and load another malicious script, the player_115.77, and once again we see user information passed along the chain. This script's purpose is to request third-party VAS tags and parse them for impression and creative information. This script queries the iServe ads control center, which sends back about a dozen requests for video ads on the background of the user's phone. So here's a quick recap of all the code we just looked at. After the malicious banner ad is bought, the scammers will capture user data and store it on their servers. They'll load a malicious script to carry out the ad fraud, and they'll pass all the information gathered to the command and control center to await next steps. And here we see the final step of the ad fraud scheme, at least until the process repeats itself for as long as iFunny stays open, and iFunny is the only app we've observed this scheme on. Here we're looking at one of the video requests sent from the spoofing server. This is just one example, and we've seen thousands of apps being spoofed in our data, but here we're seeing that Angry Birds 2 is the app being spoofed, even though that app wasn't even installed on the test device during this live capture. Real user data like GPS and IP address are also attached to this ad call to make it appear more legitimate. Thank you for watching our investigation into the Matryoshka ad fraud scheme. We hope you learned something, and please check out our blog for more information.